Yeah, I think I'm going to be on the Cloud9 hype train. They definitely proved themselves worthy of it going forward. And the thing I'm very excited about is actually seeing more of that TENZ Reyna. Like, we've seen this come into play, in my eyes at least, to allow Relics to sort of stick to his rays. We saw him have a little bit of a flux where he would pick up Phoenix quite regularly. And yeah, I think that could work out. And well, TENZ is TENZ. He's deadly no matter what agent, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it's pretty much a mirror matchup other than Fwifo being on there, but Aaron has been holding his place already, can get a frag, and it's a bloodbath already. Who Relics, who was the most improved player, I think, from the tournament that we saw in the Open, is able to start off with 2. They've broken onto the site. Fwifo is a player that's to look out for. He's causing problems on this site.
Nice. Still in with an opportunity, but he is going to be caught reloading. Fwifo to at least trade things back. 3 kills for him on that Cypher, and it will be XSET to start things off over on that defense side with a victory. I'll be interested to see if we are going to see a force in from Cloud9, though, because they definitely can make it work with the Stingers, especially if they are going to play more so towards Hookah, but I'll be interested to see if they just decide to eco here.
They're usually quite happy to force on rounds like this, but really, it's a case of getting the more important money. The fact that TENZ isn't on the Jet means that they're not really too interested in playing maybe the Jet operator role, just playing 2 heavy fraggers with the Reyna and the Rays. You could already see that they're splitting up, trying to just feel stuff out. It isn't a big buy for them, so it's a case of maybe do as much damage to XSET as possible. But XSET love to push on this defense. They love to face angles, much like Fwifo and the Reyna Pura are doing right now. They will do this all day for these 12 rounds on their defense.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing with both teams, in fact. Like, Pure R is someone who may not necessarily pick up that operator all the time. In fact, I think a lot of the time it's when things aren't necessarily working with the rest of their plays that he opts to pick it up, or if they just have a ridiculous amount of cash. Nonetheless, though, a much slower default round from C9. Again, they aren't going to be taking over Hookah control, but leaving a fair few lurkers behind.
Quite happy to play slow as C9. Really, there isn't too many opportunities that are going to present themselves at this point, as XSET have got all of the information that they could want, faced off against people. They're going to hit both sides seemingly at the same time. The rotation is going to come in from XSET. The spike is on B, so this is the site they want to finish on at least, unless they go for the teleporter. But look at this control that Mitch is trying to dictate. Only 30 seconds left, and it's a really bizarre push out of Cloud9. C9, Vice can't do too much on the side of the A site. Cloud9 need to try and make something happen.
Yeah, they didn't fully invest into this round, it seems, though, so even a spike plant is something extra. It's some finances, and Mitch has just come through with 2 kills off the back of the Classic, trying to throw a weapon over to a teammate, but it hasn't quite been retrieved. However, TENZ picks off 2 in a matter of seconds. This has gone from what should have been an easy round for the side of XSET to a pistol victory for Cloud9. Utterly ridiculous, and we're only into round number 2.
And they didn't even need to force all that much at all, really. It wasn't a case that they bought up some Spectres, some Stingers. They just had pretty much Sheriffs at that point. XSET already having to deal with a pretty big loss when it comes to the momentum that they could take. Their best result so far has been, and this is the only time that they've played Bind, by the way, in the first strike tournament, a 10-2 defending half against Immortals, which is easy to keep talking about because they knocked out Immortals, and Immortals are a fairly decent team. Yeah, maybe not fully realized, but the potential is definitely there. XSET now need to try and do what Cloud9 just did. And Weeded's crosshair was right over the head of Relics at that point. He's fully upgraded to a Vandal. Again, you would expect Cloud9 to take this round, but they're not just going to rush onto a site. They're taking their time. They're defaulting all across the map at this point, trying to see what can work at this point.
Doing what Cloud9 just did to you is a lot easier said than done.
Right.
One of those reasons, unfortunately, most teams in the world don't have TENZ, who I think is definitely in the argument for... Well, no, I was going to say one of the best players in America, but he's in the argument for best player in the world as of right now. And they fully faked them out. This is a clear B site. Sure, there has been a little bit of utility to try and slow them down, but ultimately, this is going to be a very, very easy round for C9. And realistically, I believe we're still on the old patch, right? So saving actually would be okay for XSET just to keep something extra into the next round.
Yeah, it's certainly worth adding that there's not going to be the Killjoy or Cypher nerfs. You know, Killjoy after he dies, the tripwires and the camera aren't going to be useful anymore. Camera wouldn't be anyway, but the tripwires certainly. Killjoy's effective range, that she'd have to be 40 yards away from a turret, isn't the case. The breach changes, increasing the time of his flash a little bit more. Not in here. Pretty much everything that was in the open qualifier is in this one. Playing on an older patch just for stability reasons, I'd guess. And Cloud9 are going to be happy with that, with how well they performed on that patch. Obviously, big changes coming in with Sky, with Icebox, all things that they have to adjust to. TENZ is going to try and face, but even then, like losing a Spectre like that, it could add up, certainly, because XSET are a team that can do quite a lot on the Force. Economy is going to be important in a match like this.
Well, that's one of the things. I had this, like, obviously I shouldn't really be talking about my matchmaking games, but it was like, on the defensive side, I have my nice little shorty, no one came my way, and I was like, that's fine, I just won't push, I won't just give them the extra money for the kills, and then I didn't get any, or I didn't get much bonus money, and I was sat there looking like an absolute fool for not dying at the end of the round. So I actually think out of all the changes that have come up, that will be the one we're going to see players sort of running into the blender a little bit more and actually trying to fight for rounds where they have no real chance of winning, because you want to get your extra money. You want to get the rifles in as XSET do right now.
Whilst Cloud9 take their time, they usually play this slow because they're expecting teams like XSET to push some of the flanks, you know, attack down B long. This is something the Wardell did a lot in their game against TSM, just the flash and dash, the shark attack, as some people have been calling it. So they're really expecting XSET to jump out of somewhere to get a quick frag. You would expect that kind of thing out of Pura and Aaron, certainly. But XSET giving all of the respect to Cloud9 could be a problem. Tripwire is going to be broken on B long and even used on the side of XSET just to get the information as one, because the rest of the team is in hookah. They're going to start pushing through. There's a lot of smokes though, and this is a nice little crossfire that XSET have set up. They've done damage now, and even Aaron with the blast pack could do some damage. It's just up to Shinobi and Vice to try and make stuff happen, but the spike is going to get planted. In fact, he's trying to get in and around, but if this smoke dies behind him, he's going to get given up. Very difficult, but interesting play from Cloud9 to make this a 3 versus 2.
Bringing this back, this shouldn't have been possible. It's left all onto Vice though, and eventually Thwifo will be there to put him down, but that's still a lot of economic damage that they've managed to achieve. And the one thing I want to point out was that I don't even think that was a crossfire per se. Like, that was just them spamming through the dark cover and just killing off players through it. Like, just knowing their pre-fire angles, hearing the steps as they drop down, and that was enough for them. The only thing that worries me a little bit for XSET is they did sort of abandon the site a little bit, so if they did manage to avoid a lot of the early sprays, it would have been a long time for the rotation of XSET to come back around.
Cloud9 money's still good. Brendo just wants to scout out any intel that he can. This has been Mitch's default so far. Probably the best Killjoy in NA at this point. You have people like Steel 400 Thieves, but a lot of these Killjoy players have struggled with lurkers, especially. Subrosa was a nightmare for 100 Thieves. Not really a problem for Mitch. He seems to have a good hold on it, even having impact with Killjoy on attack. And this is actually pretty impressive from XSET to restrain themselves, because this is areas where Pura would be pushing hard. His position not giving up on this angle that, again, Steel likes to play a lot of the time. Pretty much just suicide angles, waiting for Cloud9 to push in. Worked well on the B site, but how's it realistically going to do on the A site if it's hit?
Might be a while before we find out. It seems like Cloud9 are more than happy to continuously press in towards this B site. They already begin their rotation back around in that direction, still leaving relics to try and fake things out. The showstopper doesn't actually catch anyone, but it does help clear the angles. This should be quite a bit of information. Left. Nobody now pushing into mid with only 30 seconds left. They start rotating the Cypher back over onto the B side, or at least into the spawn. And that could give them enough. They've spotted the players in the backlines, but this should at least still be the sight game by C9. And Relics, well, that's one hell of a fake. He's managed to get 2 kills almost too easily. Can they deny the plant, though? That's the real question. The spam of the Hunter's Fury going through the wall does at least deny it a moment. But the fact is, it goes down. Twifo, he's managed to find himself a trade, however. And the spam through the wall does a lot, but Mitch's peak is almost too perfect, leaving just one man left. Squiffo to face off. Sorry, he's got a teammate with him, but not for long. Now he's last, as there's 2 remaining to find, and not only that, the lockdown's gone down, and he's locked out of the round. It'll be 3-2 to Cloud9. A little bit of a dicey one, but the fact is, Ryan, Relic's sort of fake on the other side of the map was actually almost too good.
Big ultimates too, 3 of which for Cloud9 that were used up, including the lockdown right at the end. All pretty much started from Relics, who got the double kill onto A that just immediately puts XSET in this position where they really don't want to be. The showstopper is available for Relics if he wants to use it. Aaron got a bit ahead of himself. And this is the boiling point, I suppose. Cloud9 doing what T1 are really good at, to be honest. Playing super passive for T1, a little bit too passive if you ask me. Where they're just getting XSET to make mistakes. You've seen it now on B-Long. They want to push, they want to be aggressive. And Cloud9 are waiting for them almost. And it's an important fight for XSET to win if they're going to dedicate to it.
Oh, I like this, though. They've split back through the teleporter and surrounded the players. That's, in fact, a spike down. So they managed to turn this already into a 2v2 situation. However, it is TENZ and Relics to try and turn the tide. Sure, it goes the way of Cloud9, but that's a really nice idea from XSET, and it does a lot of damage in the process.
The economy is still decent for Cloud9. You can see the sort of money involved. And XSET, all they really wanted to do was cause a bit of difficulty. Really, at this point, it's kind of what they can do. Pura, 0 and 6. This is a player that really XSET rely on to frag out pretty impressively. TENZ 4 and 4, but this is why Relics has been so good for Cloud9. He's risen up to be that second fragger, really. It's not really TENZ and friends anymore for Cloud9. All of the players are showing up in ways that we've never seen before. And XSET have a big ask on them, and they're not really playing the style that we're used to. We're not seeing them play the style that they surprise people with against Immortals, against Gen G. And that's all down to Cloud9 just reading this game, respecting their opponents, and effectively anti-stratting them just with their playstyle alone.
This time, the Hunter's Fury doesn't really achieve too much. In fact, we did to kick things off. A second cheeky headshot will give him an advantage, and although he's eventually traded out, becomes somewhat meaningless. Again, though, Relics is doing very well at making things costly. Problem being at this point, as he's all alone, low on HP, and you can see Aaron on the other side starting to get aggressive, starting to take map control away from him, control the spike itself, and realistically, this round should be over.
Trying to check some of these angles. If you can take one with him, it's worth. But you can just see, it's so crazy to me how passive XSET. They're declawed at this point. This was a ferocious lineup that took that extra carefully. At least Pura can get off the board with a frag. This should hopefully enable him to speed things up. He has an Empress available. A great way to start farming some of these frags onto Cloud9. His money is okay. They could potentially save if they're not comfortable in some areas. Shinobi, for example, doesn't have all the money in the world. Should be able to still get one, or is just going to use the Guardian, as we're seeing. No ultimates on the side of Cloud9, so maybe they're going to pull out a bit more of an interesting default, because right now they've been playing super slow, expecting XSET to run into them, and XSET have just been sitting passive. Wifo does this with the Ares quite a lot. You should expect a recon bot to go down A mid at any point, and he will mow them down with the Odin. Not many people do this. Not, at least I haven't seen not many people do this, at least.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very common thing when it comes to maps like Haven, for example, or even on Ascent, you know, the classic B-site hold. But yeah, I haven't seen it too much through mid, but if that wall is as paper thin as some of the others, I can understand the point. Now, at this point, they are starting to send Relics in almost as that pure entry fragger role. He's been hitting some heads today, and I wouldn't be overly surprised if he was to catch another. The B-site has been their main form of success thus far for Cloud9. Even still, though, you mentioned how strong their defensive side can be. XSET might need to string a few rounds together if that's going to be the case.
And Cloud9 are a team that like to play the objective on a map like this. It's pretty much just run in, get the spike down, go from there. And oftentimes it means that their post plans aren't very good, their executes can be a little bit sloppy. Wifo has the right idea, can't get any damage in. And that strategy might not find too much use, but he's still able to get Relics at least. TENZ at least trades out onto Pura. And And that's all he's able to do with that kind of gun as we go into a 4 versus 3 retake. XSET want to be able to try and take back this site. No ultimates to do it in. And the positioning for Cloud9 is varied and going to be difficult to uproot.
Yeah, they have the right idea of the positioning of Vice, but so many angles to clear, and they actually peek directly into TENZ. Not what you want to be doing. Leaving just 2. Brando.
One
One of them. Aaron does at least clear out TENZ, but the problem is there's still so many members of this C9 roster standing. And Brando with 60 HP. Might just have to look to try and escape this one. The spike ticking very fast indeed. And in fact, Vice is even going to peek him and kill him off at the end. So even more cost creative for XSET. And it's Cloud9 to take their 5th.
Could be a half buy coming out of XSET. As we go to the 9th round, almost done on their defending half, which has been dominant in a lot of their previous games. But of course, this is Cloud9. This is a very tall order for them. Attacking might bring a few opportunities themselves, but realistically, Cloud9's game across the whole map is fairly decent. Gaps in their play, sure, but not really being exploited by XSET in the way that I was hoping to see. But at least they're able to get some damage in on these half-buys. Brando just with the classic, trying to farm up a Hunter's Fury and finding no pressure on B long, just because Cloud9, looking to hit the B site, are playing this so slowly. XSET just can't get a read on it unless they push them, in which case, they're probably going to get caught out by Cloud9 here. It's a lose-lose for XSET.
But that's the problem. I think the majority of the aggression we've seen from them have been in these sort of thrifty half-buy rounds. It's not really been any real aggression in the buy rounds, and I do worry. Like, it is very hard to defend this map with just the players you have on the site. You need your Cypher to be almost flawless, and well, at the moment, on the other side of the map. Of course, this one is mostly just an eco. There's a few pieces here and there invested, and in fact, they're actually going to use the ultimate. Brando does at least manage to get one with a pistol, but again, this is sort of what I'm talking about. They managed to clear out the site, and now they're even picking off players on A as well. They've managed to completely confuse and split the
30
defense.
seconds left.
Cloud9, they are actually going to be walking into A. There's a very, very small chance that XSET managed to do something impressive here. Dwifo trying to get back in onto Vice, and now it's left all onto the pistol of We Did, and while the spike's not even planted in the end. 6 on the board, half at least. Going to go in even for Cloud9, and well, they're looking pretty good now on the attacking side.
Another buy coming out for XSET. Still of ultimates. Brando has to find a key Hunter's Fury here. Pura 1 and 8. This has not been an ideal game for him. Pretty much being the consistent top fragger for this team. He's 9 kills behind his teammate. 10 kills behind Relics, who's topping up in the server. TENZ isn't having the game of his life at this point, but he doesn't need to have that anymore. Vice has mostly been playing Breach. He's been doing well on the Silver. And Empress is available for TENZ if he chooses to use it. But Pura doubles his kill count at least by pushing onto Mitch. That's the kind of thing that you want to see more of XSET. They just need to rise to the occasion, because right now, they're letting Cloud9 get away with everything so far in this attack.
Well, after the aggressions come in onto mid, you can see the reaction from Cloud9. They want to try and push straight back in onto the B site, but been a lot of counter utility expended. Cypher K just put up in their face, and now they have to be wary that they're not being flanked. Sure, they have left the Killjoy turret behind, although this is something that in the future won't quite work out as well as it is right now. Unless the dead body will keep it alive. I don't think it works like that.
Revealing area.
But they are still going to end up on this B site. Now, they've turned round back already. Like, there were moments where they were in 2v5s that came to be pretty close in the end. However, the rotation is already coming in things from XSET. They have a good read on the situation at least, even starting to throw out the Hunter's Fury, which has caught one man, but in the meantime, Relix again on the entry has found another pick. Pure R with his second kill of the round, looking to try and double up a little bit more. And in the meantime, the spike has gone doubling back, an important kill from Shinobi. He picks off the one player who was defending the site, and in fact, the spam coming through will deny anybody coming further. Somehow Cloud9 again have put this in a good position, but as you mentioned, Relic, maybe not, maybe not. He's whiffed a little bit here. Made things a bit awkward, but problem is they have to kill him. They have to clear him, and unfortunately, Pure, this is where he finally falls after a couple of kills, setting his team up. It now becomes problematic. Shinobi goes down in the meantime, and Relic still has the showstopper, putting him onto a third kill this round. Brando now has to get towards the spike. Is pincered between multiple players, and it's Relics once again. Ryan, there's a reason that TENZ has sort of switched up his playstyle a little bit to allow this man to stick to his rays. And this is the reason. He's currently 15-6.
It's working out so well for Relics, who has been playing Phoenix on this map too. So I'm kind of glad that they've gone for this kind of composition. They've still got the flashes with TENZ. And if they're attacking first, are they really going to attack up for the majority of this map? Probably not. So they can go for something that's a bit more aggressive, frag heavy. And how different that map would have been if Relic started to Pura there. He's still 3-9. It's the tale of two fraggers for these teams that are really missing up opportunities or taking rounds by storm. Cloud9 have a lot to work with. It's going to be a half buy, maybe even a little bit of a force from XSET. But we're getting towards the end of this round, the penultimate of this half at least. And XSET, it's more damage control than doing damage to Cloud9 at this point.
Yeah, I think that's the real worry, is that there's been a few rounds now where they've let things slip, the last one being one of them with the quick switch up and Shinobi able to get a crucial kill. There were so many swing points in that round as well. Like I think XSET easily could have taken it, but unfortunately Cloud9 just seemed to be so solid when it comes to the late round positions. Aaron, a good position, slightly misses onto the Lear, and that's enough for him to go down. They have the lockdown, which will likely force the majority of players out of this site or force them towards the lockdown itself. Either way, Cloud9 are more than happy with that, and this round is all too easy for the boys in blue. Two players surviving.
At this point,
nothing we can do.
Nothing at all. Brando does get a little bit of information towards where TENZ is at least, but shock darts do 15 damage at most. It's not ideal. The recon bolt is going to pulse to show at least one of these defenders. Wifo has the neural theft. Realistically, not going to use it. It's a case of try and get a couple of frags, but even then, this is flawless from Cloud9 at this point. Really, at this point, are you going to be saving a bookie? The Cypher? Not likely. It's just try and catch somebody. And this could be easily a 9-3 half for Cloud9. Team Ace, you don't really see that too often, but what a perfect example, a display, I suppose, of what's been so good about Cloud9, how they beat teams like TSM and Envy to get here, because everybody's been showing up on this roster. And really, at this point, you're looking at Relics, he's been the one that's done it the most.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see it, because that's always been the thing that we've spoken about with this roster. Like, TENZ is always going to be that factor. We know that. Like, whether or not, like, people are going to call him the out-and-out star, or whether or not you're going to look at him and go, he's the carry. You can say that whatever you like. But it's other players like Relics, for example. When they step up, that's when this Cloud9 roster are truly terrifying. And the fact that they're now giving him more of an opportunity to do that, it makes this roster very, very scary. And he is having a phenomenal game against a team that, well, this was the map they needed to win. They need to do well on this map. The next two are not going to be kind to them. They're their two worst maps currently in the pool. And this round might be a bit of a saving grace. Something extra at least, but they haven't even looked close over the last few. That's the problem. In some of the earlier rounds, we were talking about how this was like a back and forth, some like rounds that Cloud9 managed to bring back. Recently, it's been next to nothing, and again, it's not going to be the start they were looking for. TENZ with the opener, but we did now bringing up an operator. Could be the difference maker. Brando as well on the Sova has managed to find 3 kills, and Vice, well, if he comes out of this one alive, I'll be very surprised. 8-4, at least an extra round, but that's been sort of the case so far for XSET. It's been individual rounds. They didn't manage to streak any together on their defensive side. Now they need a big streak going into half number 2.
And we can look at pretty much the highlights of Cloud9 for this half with GoPuff, and you're going to see exactly some of the plays that brought Cloud9 into the first seed to be the best. And there were some really nice, clever plays out of XSET, but realistically not enough to set this team apart. Even just all of the cute little plays that enabled XSET to get into the closed qualifiers at this point. But Aaron especially, not only sort of missing out on opportunities like that, I think him even failing to kill a Reyna Leah whilst trying to hold on to A was pretty much the epiphany, the antithesis of what is going wrong with XSET at this point. They're just not really hitting their shots. Even killing utility, they're struggling with. I feel like Cloud9 are in their heads that this occasion has rose up against XSET. Now is their opportunity to do some stuff on attack. It's not a bad half, but we haven't seen much of them from the open qualifiers at least, because they were so dominant against Immortals on their defense. We really didn't see that much on their attack.
That's a good point. That's fair. Like, you never know. Maybe their attack was even better, and we just didn't get to see it. I kind of hope so. Otherwise, I do worry for XSET. Like, obviously, coming into this, we spoke about them having a chance, but Cloud9 being the #1 seed for a reason, no doubt. Well, already, we are going to get the site take. An after-plant situation, something that happened quite regularly in the last half as well, but see if they can get themselves a second pistol victory. Bear in mind, they did lose the second round straight back to what was very little invested from Cloud9, but if they can get this over the line, it at least gives them a bit of a lifeline. Vice looking for players. He's trying to find somebody here. Eventually, the drone gives him a piece of information. Actually, they've tapped the spike. They're just starting to defuse it, trying to almost bait them in to the site, and while Brando is going to deny that very quickly indeed. Relic's trying to fight from the players in the bathroom. A quick shot onto the first, but the paranoia leaves him completely blind. However, he's the only one left. The question is, have they got it on the time? It's looking pretty good for C9. It's going to be incredibly close, but they just about get it. 0.29. Close for comfort, but unfortunately, that might be the lifeline of XSET gone.
Yeah, having those 2 pistol rounds would have been huge for XSET, but even then, you can't guarantee that even if XSET won that pistol round, that they would win the round following with how much Cloud9 are forcing. It's a question now if XSET try and do a similar thing, but really, Cloud9 didn't look phased there. It went so close, but the way that Relics was taking those aim duels in A bath, he didn't look phased at all. He was quite happy to take those fights. He's on a roll right now, 18-7. Almost got double the kills of Wifo, who has been top fragging for XSET. And really, the disappointment continues for the attacking team now. And they have a huge uphill task ahead of them. Seems that they're going to be splitting across B as much as they possibly can, but that Killjoy utility, that turret in hookah, would make it really difficult to contest when you have Vice in there holding as close as he is. No pressure looking at B long though, so this might be an opening, but I would imagine at this point Cloud9 are quite happy to play this passively, especially with the Omen Shinobi helping coming through the teleport too.
That's a similar round to what we saw from C9 when they went for a slight investment into this sort of round. Mitch is going to get a very easy kill. We did trying to shadow step his way through, has been caught out by the Killjoy, and in fact the second player will fall in the same way. Mitch holding his ground, and sure, eventually Brando will get the trade. They should at least get a spike plant as well, which is some extra money in the bank, something for the next round. The fact is though, winning this, nigh impossible. They are stuck in a corner. It might help them at least with some cheeky classic right clicks, but realistically it is going to be double digits hit for C9.
And this buy that's going to come out of XSET in this next round is so important. There's a couple of frags in at least to build up some of these ultimates, but really the only thing that's keen to go is maybe Relics if you can get a couple of frags for his showstopper. But Mitch, Killjoy, the lockdown. Happy to play off of the sites. That's pretty much been Cloud9 certainly when it comes to A. They're more than happy to retake. But Relics with the Vandal is looking to face a little bit more A main. Pura was considering going in that direction, but this is a great opportunity for some of these more aggressive players of A-Rin and Pura to do some damage, because right now it's been more the supportive backbone of Wifo and Brando to get those kills. It's really been an off day for XSET, and really this is the last day that they can afford to have an off day. They go down to like a deciding elimination match, which will be at the end of today. They will play the loser of 100 Thieves or Luminosity. Both of those teams are really scary on the best of days, so it's going to be tricky, and Relics just adds to that misery.
This isn't even this is sort of their bonus round. This is the spare weaponry they had over from the last that they're using to try and do some extra damage. Instead, it's looking like they might take the win, but Aaron has managed to find TENZ. He's been caught out a fair few times in this match so far. This man, though, has been almost flawless, and he's going to get a freebie. Relics with his third kill. I don't know how many times I've said that so far in this map, and with Wyfo left 16 HP, Relics is going to get another 4K. The man is on a mission with this raise. He has been unstoppable so far today, and I'm just going to go and say I don't want to be in his way at all. 24-7. An unreal performance from Relics.
His showstopper's ready to go. Aaron at least
dear.
has been able to sort of climb up to get the frags for the team, but it's still nowhere near the damage that Cloud9 is putting on them. And I'm really impressed with the way that Cloud9 has been playing. They know that this team is going to come in with some form of aggression at least. And they had a really patient game. Cloud9 often does fluff their lines in some cases. They do make mistakes, and they can be caught out by other teams. But this has just been a perfect performance for them. They are not giving XSET an opportunity, but Pura at least is able to get two. It's an opening. The rest of his team are going to be pushing through Hookah at this point at least. All of the rotating players from Cloud9 ready to hit them head on.
It has become a possibility, and well, to try and clear both of these angles is not going to be easy. However, Relics, again, he's there with one. Shinobi alongside him will already trade things back into a 2v2 situation. The spike in the meantime has gone rotating back, but the thing is for XSET, splitting up in this situation, if anything, has just allowed Cloud9 to isolate Jules and get back into position before they get the spike down. No time will be gone on the clock, and in fact, this is so risky. They might even end up just taking the straight fight versus TENZ, which, well, that's never something I'm going to ever recommend. The timing could have been better. The first one is his, and he gets back around the corner. His teammate, in the meantime, still looking to try and wrap around, and TENZ knows it's worth just waiting here, wasting time, although he actually goes peeking in. He gives Pure an opportunity here. Maybe just getting a little bit too cocky, as he could have waited for Shinobi to come back around. And actually, now switching things up once again, Ryan, as this goes in towards the B site. It's a chase. It's a chance for Pure to really bring around home for his team.
10 seconds left.
Shinobi, though,
Spike planted.
is hot on his heels. I don't know if he'll expect him to be this far out, just around the corner, watching for the peak, and Pure will take it. A big 4K that keeps them in this map, but more importantly, maybe a slight slip-up from Cloud9.
And it's going to be exploited from players like Pura. That's more like it, both him and Aaron are starting to warm up a little bit more. The showstopper from Aaron not finding all of that much, but it started with him, it ended with him. Great round from the reign of XSET. But there's still a tall mountain to climb. Look at what's available for Cloud9. But look at the fact that they aren't really buying at all. Their economy has been damaged throughout some of these rounds. Even winning 3 in a row, money isn't ideal. So Cloud9 might be quite happy to face this head on, except that this could be another round lost. But they could be a tricky team themselves at this point in XSET. Certainly don't look confident as we're used to seeing, Tom.
Looking to try and pincer them in. E9 now have a lot of personnel fighting for Hookah, but the problem could be the push starting to come through. Long weeded, he's left so blind. However, the trades are coming back. Still even though. Bear in mind, this is not a full investment from C9. This is them trying to do some damage along the way while they have the purchase for the next round. There is still a rifle for Mitch, and actually, XSET are not going to switch their direction. We saw them do that in the last round, playing a game of Ring Around the Rosie, but the fact is Mitch has now picked off another, and now they decide it's the time to try and switch back. The problem, Ryan, though, the man they're walking into is all the more terrifying. Like, Relics is still here and ready.
He's waiting. I don't think they're going to expect it. The flank is a bit awkward as he's still using the stinger, but he gets the kill onto Brando. Rifle could have had an amazing lurk onto B, but Mitch just jump peeks him. He's not been caught out by these kind of players. He's been so good at dealing with lurkers like him and some rows of problematic players. Rifle can at least bring this down to a 1 versus 2. He is running right into a Sheriff. He tries to jump. Classic right click, but it's not enough. Match point for Cloud9 on a round that seemed to be destined to be XSET's. It's another fluff up by them, and another great round from Cloud9 Blue.
But to just keep the scoreboard up for a second, they haven't won 2 rounds in a row this entire match.
No.
That includes, like, winning a pistol and then instantly losing the force buy. That includes the round there where it was 1 rifle, some SMGs, and some pistols. This has been a bad day at the office for XSET, and it's unfortunate because they've not been able to build any momentum whatsoever. And Cloud9, well, they must feel invincible. Every time they lose, they instantly win right back.
Literally like Saiyans. They get beat up, they come back stronger. Mitch is ready to face. That turret is going to find some information, but the smoke protects it. TENZ, though, gets alerted to Krypo. He's not being able to get anything done. Relics is just styling on them at this point. Expected this level. Aaron could at least get one, but it's just up to Aaron now. 1 versus 4 to try and take this first map. Their best opportunity, to be honest, for XSET to take a surprising map win against Cloud9. It's looking all up in smoke. If XSET could get anything done, they can't. 13-5. Cloud9 are looking next level.